In order to participate in the round of frenetic consumption, one must have means and one must, therefore, work. In other words, one must sell oneself. The dominant system champions work as its most esteemed value. Slaves have to work more to buy on credit their miserable lives. Slaves wear out in the workplace. They waste their vital strength and have to suffer the worst humiliations. They spend their lives performing grueling tasks for the benefit of a few. Modern unemployment is invented as a scare tactic to force slaves into endless gratitude for the generosity of the power elite. What would they do if they didn't have to suffer this torture called work? These alienating activities are touted as freeing. What degradation and what misfortune! Always pressured on by the time clock or the whip, every movement of the slave is designed to increase productivity. The scientific organization of labor is at the heart of the worker's divestment from himself, the fruit of his labor and his time, which is misspent in the automated production of commodities or services. The worker's labor is mistaken for that of the machine in the factories or the computer in the office. Paid time will never be recovered. Every worker is assigned a repetitive duty, be it physical or intellectual. The worker is a specialist in his own field. This specialization can be seen on a worldwide scale within the framework of the International Division of Labor. Conceived in the West, produced in Asia, and lethal in Africa. To the extent that the system of production colonizes every sector of life, the modern slave is manipulated into wasting his free time in leisure activities and planned holidays. No part of his life escapes the reach of the system. Every moment of his life has been invaded. He is a full-time slave. The generalized degradation of his environment, of the air he breathes, of the food that he consumes, the stress of his working environment, his entire social condition are the origins of the new diseases befalling the modern slave. His servile standing is an ill for which there will never be a cure. Only the complete emancipation from his present condition would allow the modern slave to recover from his suffering. Western medicine knows only one way to cure the maladies of the modern-day slave: mutilation. Under commercial medicine, patients are subjected to surgeries, antibiotics, and chemotherapy. The origins of pain are never considered. only its consequences. For such inquiry would inevitably lead to a condemnation of the social structure in its totality. Just as the current system reduces everything in our world to mere commodities, so does it transform our bodies into such, into the object of study and experimentation of the pseudo-wise men of commercial medicine and molecular biology. The masters of the world are set to patent every living thing, the complete sequencing of the DNA of the human genome is the point of departure of a new strategy bent on power. Genetic decoding serves no purpose but to considerably expand domination and control. As with many other things, our bodies no longer belong to us. The best part of the slave's life slips through his fingers, but he continues because he has always obeyed. Obedience has become second nature to him. He obeys not knowing why, simply that he must. Obey, produce, and consume. Behold the triptych that rules his life. He obeys his parents, his teachers, and his masters, the landlords and the merchants. He obeys the forces of law and order. He obeys all powers because he does not know any better. There is nothing that frightens him more than disobedience, because it signifies risk, adventure, change. Just as a child panics when he loses sight of his parents, the modern slave feels lost without the power system that has created him. His obedience, therefore, continues. Fear has made us slaves, and it keeps us in that condition. We bow before the masters of the world. We accept this life of humiliations and misery strictly out of fear. Nevertheless, we count on greater numbers as compared to the ruling class. Their strength does not come from the police, it comes from our consent. We justify our cowardice to the forces that oppress us with a discourse full of moralizing humanism. The rejection of revolutionary violence is anchored in the spirit of those who oppose the system while defending the values it teaches.